Joining me now is Elina Beketova. She was born in Crimea and began her career as a journalist there. Elina is now with the Center for European Policy Analysts, and she's also the author of Behind the Lines, which compiles information on the occupied territories of Ukraine. And she joins us now from Pascagoula, Mississippi. Thank you so much for being here with us. So it seems Crimea is becoming increasingly central to the outcome of peace negotiations. You've heard President Trump say that Crimea will stay with Russia. So if you could speak to President Trump, what would you tell him?
Thank you so much for having me today. And we've heard different statements. One day it's one statement, another it's another. But what we're seeing is Donald Trump trying to put pressure on both sides to push for a ceasefire. President Zelensky said that this idea about Crimea staying with Russia hasn't been officially offered to Ukraine. And President Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social, nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory. And he asked for a fair question. If Zelensky wants Crimea, why didn't they fight for it 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia without a shot being fired? The truth is, Ukraine didn't have any army or support back then. It had just 5,000 poorly equipped soldiers and no help from partners, even after giving up its nuclear weapons for security guarantees. But today, we all understand that appeasement doesn't work. Letting Russia keep Crimea would only encourage more aggression, not just against Ukraine, but across Europe. So that is why Crimea is Ukraine.
But, President Zelensky himself admitted that Ukraine doesn't have the weapons to retake Crimea. So, isn't what Trump said just a recognition of the reality? Why does recognition matter if Russia effectively controls it?
Well, it's true that Ukraine currently lacks the weapons needed to regain control over Crimea. But as Ukraine has emphasized, the international community has various tools to put pressure on Russia and bring territorial issues to the forefront. If we remember, in fall 2022, Ukrainians had enough means and support, and they could liberate parts of Kharkiv and Kherson Oblast. So when Ukrainians have enough of support and means, they can liberate their territories. But right now, we're not talking about that because for many years, people from Crimea were told that Crimea will be regained control by diplomatic means. So the world should keep just the policy of not recognizing Crimea as part of Russia, just like they didn't recognize Soviet control over the Baltic states after World War II. The Baltic states fought for 50 years to regain their independence, and it's possible that Crimea may need a long way too. But it's just important, sanctions related to Crimea should stay in place and be enforced as long as Russia continues its occupation.
All right, so I want to pivot to the ongoing peace talks. What did you make of that striking image of the two presidents, Trump and Zelensky, sitting knee to knee talking yesterday? Does it give you hope that President Trump might be changing his mind on Ukraine and put more pressure on Moscow instead?
Well, yes, the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky at the Vatican could be a hopeful sign for Ukraine. Both sides shared positive messages, and even a short 15-minute meeting can matter, especially if it helps move forward talks on a ceasefire or future support. The U.S. remains Ukraine's strongest ally, and it's important to keep pressure on Russia to accept the ceasefire that Ukraine is already ready for. But Russia's demands are extreme. They don't want Ukraine to exist as a sovereign country. That is why Ukraine still needs serious security guarantees, and that is what the coalition of the willing is meant to provide, especially from European partners. We've also seen Donald Trump question whether Putin really wants peace or if he's just dragging this out. If that's the case, then tools like banking pressure and secondary sanctions might be necessary. Trump has even mentioned sanctions on countries buying Russian oil, which could be a signal on a tougher stance if Russia doesn't come to the table in good faith. So yeah, the meeting brings hope, but there is still a lot of work ahead.
A lot of work ahead. I want to get to that. You are in the U.S. How hard has it been to see this country pivot away from supporting Ukraine? And how do you try to win back their support at this crucial time?
Well, I feel that right now, what I have just said, we're just hearing different statements. It may not reflect the policy. So it's just like the testing of allies, it's testing of different sides. But hopefully, the support of Ukraine will stay. And being from Crimea, that's true. There are many millions of people and several millions of people, and whenever you hear someone questioning whether it's Ukraine or not. It questions the whole identity of people, and we're talking about 2 million or even more than 2 million of Ukrainians from Crimea. So hopefully, it won't violate the international law, and it will stay Ukraine as it is in the Ukrainian constitution. So that is why we all hope for the best, but of course we hope that there will be the ceasefire, because right now it's the main thing for Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, really great to get your take on all this, Elina Beketova. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.